Welcome to the Vegan Gym Live. I am Dr. Daphne Bascom, and I am your host for today's episode. And do we have a special episode for you? If you are joining us for the first time, thank you. We know that you're going to have an amazing learning opportunity today with our special guest. And if you're back for another episode, we appreciate you and would love to hear from you in the comments where you're listening in from today. And remember that we can see your comments. So if you have any questions as we go along, we would love to entertain them. Big question. Are you interested in learning how to self regulate your response to stress and anxiety, lower your blood pressure without medication, be more present for your job or your loved ones, and live more in a state of ease? I know I want to say yes to that question. So today you are going to enjoy our conversation about heart math. And heart math is a resiliency practice. And joining me to walk us through what heart math is and how you can apply it in your life is one of our own vegan superheroes, Janet Fitch. Janet, welcome to the Vegan Gym Live.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here. I appreciate you all listening in and looking forward to sharing some information and would love to have this be interactive. If you're listening, we look forward to seeing your comments. No question is too small or too big. So happy to be here and to share some information about heart math with all of you.
Janet, I know we have a lot we want to talk about, but before I turn it over to you so that you can educate us all on heart math, do you mind just sharing briefly with the community a little bit about your plant-based journey and how you found yourself becoming a vegan superhero?
Sure. Yeah, so I've been vegan. I love I love talking about food, and that kind of led me on my path. And I love food. I love eating. I love cooking. And so my original journey started way back, but I won't take you through all of it. I'm a baker. I'm a traditional Southern baker. I'm from the East Coast in Virginia originally, and so I started because I love to bake for myself, my family, and my neighbors and my friends. And when I started baking, I was like, well, there's got to be a better, because I'm talking like 2 to 3 times a week. I like to bake. And so, or in the past. And so I was like, well, I'm going to be huge if I eat all of it. Like I have to try something better. So it started me on an, educational and a curious journey. How could I not use butter or egg? And that's probably, that's close to 15 years ago.
Wow.
That's kind of where it started. And then through learning, not only the health benefits for me personally, also learning about how food is, and particularly meat in this country is produced and around the world. I just I didn't want to support that.
Mhm.
I love and respect all living beings. So that was a large part of my journey too. And I respect, everyone has their own journey. So I don't eat any meat or any animal products of any kind for probably about 10 years, but some people that's a bridge too far. And I respect that. So that's where I started, and then I actually joined the vegan gym about it was in December. I knew you all were online, and I was so impressed just with your presence and also the fitness component. I'm a huge fitness fan too, and knew I was going to work with you all at some point. And so last December I joined and was coached by Coach Brian. I'm still technically a legend for those of you who are out there, and part of the Momentum community now.
Well, I'll forgive you for being a legend, but
Yeah. It's a big VSA family. Come on now.
but so when we met earlier this year, I was really intrigued that you were a heart math certified trainer. Let's get into this. I want to turn it over to you because this could be a multi-hour conversation. So we may need to bring you back again.
Yeah, sure. And, really, that's exactly right. To become a certified heart math trainer, the training is about 40 hours. So there's a lot. If you are interested in the science, I'm just going to barely scratch the surface today, but you can always find out more. But you did share with me, I think most folks in this community are not aware of heart math. So I thought I'd really just start at kind of the foundational level. And heart math has been around for about 30 years. The products and tools and techniques are based on over 30 years of scientific research, and it was conducted at the Heart Math Institute on the psychophysiology of stress, emotions, and the interaction between the heart and brain. And so there's over 300 peer-reviewed or independent studies that are published in medical journals that are published out there, open source for you all to find, that show, beneficial outcomes by using these practices. And so that's really what it is. And it's the study of the connection between the heart and the brain in the physical body. And so I once I, so I experienced it myself firsthand. And I'll tell you a little bit about like what led me to heart math. But I wanted to just actually let you and the audience today just get a little snippet. I'd like to lead you through an exercise to show you kind of what the heart math technique is,
Wonderful.
to give you kind of an experience. So it's just a couple minutes. It's similar to meditation if you've done it,
Mhm.
but it just allows space and time for us to kind of reconnect with ourselves. And most heart math techniques actually start with this practice, which is called heart focused breathing. So if you all are willing and able on the line, we'll just begin by focusing our attention in the area of our heart. And I just ask you to imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area. Just allowing yourself to breathe a little slower and a little deeper than usual. And a suggestion could be to inhale for 5 seconds and exhale for 5 seconds. And with your next slow inhale and deep exhale, I welcome you back to the group when you're ready. So I don't know about you, but I can actually now feel when I do this, I can feel myself slow down, right? I mean, you guys can hear it in my voice, my
Yes.
tone, my pace, but Coach Daphne, how was that for you?
Janet, it was wonderful. I mean, I feel, especially getting ready to do the live, there's always a little bit of elevated sympathetic tone, and I
Mm-hmm.
can feel myself just relaxing and centering myself back in the moment.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. So, anybody have any comments? Feel free if I welcome. That was probably 3 minutes or less. And so, we'll get into some more specifics, but really, like anything else, the more you practice, the better you get at it. And so I found heart math. I work for Kaiser Permanente, which is the healthcare company in we're all over the US, but we're very strongly
All over.
yeah, in the DC area, we're there. We definitely have a
Yep.
footprint. But our largest membership base is in California. and I work in human resources for our corporate area of Kaiser Permanente, and I have the privilege of leading succession management for Kaiser within the executive population. But I've been with Kaiser almost 9 years now, and a
Mhm.
few years ago I had a different job that was super stressful. It was a pretty rough environment, shall we say. I was a manager, I was leading a team of 8 people, and it was very stressful. The leadership there really was, I would say, a little bit more old school as far as style. And it was kind of like, you know, do, and less
Mhm.
about, how you could look at things differently and your creativity to problem solve. And so I was kind of forced into a position. Later realized, it wasn't for me. It wasn't the right fit, but I was doing my best. But that time in that role, I was there for 2 years. I worked on the 18th floor of a building, and I could literally every morning feel like the stress compounding as I went up the elevator.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, it was really,
Yeah.
I never felt anything like it. It was
Yeah.
just, we've all, had situations where it's better fit or not. And I was working in that building, and one day there was a lunch and learn for an hour. Come learn about heart math, and it was actually led by our Nursing Scholars Academy, which supports all of our nurses within Kaiser. Kaiser is a very large organization, and we employ 60,000 nurses. And so our
Wow.
nurses are, pivotal to our
Yes.
delivery, and we want them to be caring, right? Not only for
Mhm.
themselves, but for what they do. And so Kaiser's had a long-standing relationship with HeartMath for about 15 years. We have over 100 certified HeartMath trainers, and all I knew at the time was that I needed help. I was
Mhm.
like, I literally couldn't make decisions when I was sitting at my desk. I could feel the tension, and I didn't know what to do. And, all I knew was once I started using these techniques for myself, every morning, at night during part of my shutdown ritual, I started to feel better. And that's what led me to, explore more, and then to eventually become certified. And I'm one of only a few trainers in Kaiser that is not a nurse or a clinical specialist. So I am very proud of that. And I told them, I said, if you certify me, I will share this with anyone who asks. And it's the most fun part of my job because I volunteer a lot internally to do sessions like this about heart math.
And that's important. Before you go on, just for anyone listening, what Janet's going to share are things that you can incorporate into your life because that ability to lower your stress level, it's so important. It's an important part of the pillars that we help you embrace as part of the vegan gym community. And so remember and take away something that you can apply to your life today.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was even when I first, met you and started talking about heart math. I asked about, within the vegan gym community, there's a lot on fitness, there's a lot on
Mm.
health, but your emotional and your mental well-being is a key component to
Key.
success in any area. I know you know that,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons I wanted to be here with you today, just to share another resource for folks to
Awesome.
all right. So so we just did a little example of heart math, but then really, I want to just highlight, and I will keep me moving, because I could talk forever about it. But one thing here, which we'll get to, we're going to talk about emotions, but the third bullet there, a strikingly different culture of genuine care. A key component in studying the emotions, between the heart and the brain are the emotions. And so, whether we acknowledge it or not, whether we believe it or not, our emotions have a huge impact on how we problem solve, how we relate to others. And so, heart math, kind of is foundationally in the physical body. And then they've studied how do those emotions impact your physical body, and then how can you use them to help fight the stressors and things that are difficult in your life. So just wanted to call that out. Here, as I mentioned, there's a lot of research that's published in medical journals. Kaiser Permanente, we love our science, our evidence-based science to back up anything that we support. So, it's certainly credible. There's tons of studies. Um, and you can find more at heartmath.com, or look at Heart Math Institute, which is
Mhm.
where there's two components. There's more of the educational component, but then there's the research, which is the institute. So if you're interested, you can check out more information there. Let's see. I have a comment. Can you see that comment?
I can.
Okay, what does it say?
This is relaxing for me, and thank you, Sandy, for commenting. I did not know that this what this technique was called. When I wake up at night and can't get back to sleep, I try this technique to help me get back to sleep.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. And I mean, almost any meditation, or even if you don't meditate, but breathing is a foundational element of kind of returning, like you mentioned, Coach Daphne, about, the present moment, but also returning to your body,
Mhm.
especially when folks who might have PTSD or had a traumatic event, like they leave their body, like it's all in the mind, right? And so breathing practices really bring you back to the present time and ground in the body. So I'm so glad that you've incorporated that in your nightly routine when you wake up. Absolutely, it definitely can help. So these are just some of the objectives. It's we talk about the resiliency in your energy level, but also, if you're stressed or in a state of burnout, you're not able to access your own good judgment, your
Mhm.
own intelligence, your creativity, and so it can diminish personal and professional stress, fusion, fatigue, sleep. I know we've talked a lot here at VSA about the importance of sleep. So, all these things are related. And so, like anything else, if you just do if you can pepper it in somewhere, you start to build the practice that then alleviates. I see you can't, you know, I hesitate because it's not all about feeling love and feeling gratitude all the time, right? What heart math teaches us is to actually access that emotion in the body to help us build that reserve for those times when stressors come in, so you don't feel as depleted. That's the idea. um and go ahead, Coach Daphne, do you want to?
Oh, no, I was just gonna say it's like building your battery so that you have more. I will let you go on.
No, we didn't even plan it. Please, that's exactly that's exactly right. So heart math really looks at resiliency in that metaphor of a battery, right? And so this is their definition of resilience, which is the capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt in the face of stress, challenge, and adversity. And the key idea here is that it's a you can expand it, and you can influence it.
Mhm.
And the more you practice these techniques, the more you're building the capacity for what you can take on. That's the idea. I mean, an easy example is, if you never plug in your cell phone, you're never at 100%,
Exactly.
right? So
Yep.
got to plug it in. That's the idea. And at the most physiological level, we are an energy system. We feed ourselves every day. We here at VSA talk a lot about the importance of nutrition and food. And, every day you make choices around what that does to your energy. If you have alcohol, you're probably sluggish the next day, or if you're eating really, vibrant, healthy, natural, organic food, you might have a clearer mind, right? So those things impact us every day, and they're decisions that we make that affect our physical body.
And that energy is actually something that can be measured. So I know that we talk a lot about energy systems, um, good energy, but it is really physically, it can be measured. The energy that emanates from our heart, it actually is measurable. So the science behind this is really fascinating.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I'm actually gonna. I don't have. We can talk about the domains of resilience, but to your point, this is a study that actually showed the effect of an emotional conversation on someone. So this particular example is a husband and wife are traveling in a car. The husband is on the passenger side, and he has a Holter monitor, which is a heart rate monitor on
Mhm.
him. And so you can see his heart rate is around, between 60 and 80. And then they have a discussion and he's irritated. So they have an argument, and you can see it shoots up to over 140 beats. And the elapsed time at the bottom is in minutes, right? So, I
Mhm.
mean, it's the short amount of time that he really jumps from 60 to over 140. And then you can see there at minute 50 or 35, they reconcile. She says, "Oh, you were totally right. I should have turned left there." Right. So now it's resolved. But look, his heart rate still
Still
hangs
not normal.
out,
Yeah.
right? And then look, it's from minute 40 to 60.
Yeah.
And there are some studies, depending upon what the traumatic, what the incident is, where your heart rate could stay up to 8 hours elevated. So
Wow.
think of, if you're a police officer or you're an EMT,
Mhm.
or you're an ER nurse,
Mhm.
you can, or a doctor, right? I mean, you can have that experience, and even though it's resolved, your body is hanging out
Yeah.
up there. And that's kind of like the silent sleeper, right? You're like, oh, that drains you. And so a key component too is just starting to be more aware, like,
Mhm.
oh, and even literally after you have a discussion that's kind of rough, or you had a work conversation and you're like, why do I feel so bad? Just take a minute,
Yes.
just 1 minute. If that's, if there's nothing else that resonates, even if it's just to do a breath or stand up, take a walk, you know that's
And
the
that
idea.
and it so to your point, it's not 20 minutes that you have to get up and meditate or go into a dark room. These are tools that you can apply sitting at your desk, close your office door, and just try and bring yourself into a different state than whatever aroused you to a more elevated state.
Absolutely. And like anything, I also am fascinated by like habit change and how do we, I mean, we do a lot here in VSA on that too. I'm actually lucky enough to be a part of helped create a well-being series for our employees. It's they can just do it on their own time,
Mhm.
and it's about habit change. And so any there's always, can you tie it to something you already
Yeah.
do? So like when I am speaking for a meeting, I always prepare 10 minutes ahead of time and I take some deep breaths, or I, so it's where can you just infuse, like you said, just something different. So in the morning, if you go for a walk, but when you sit down to start your day at your work, can you just start with some breathing, and I'm going to share, I know we're getting close to time, but I did want to share another example with you all to take with you, because as I didn't really talk too much about the emotions, but most of the techniques also, then you tap into a positive emotion that regulates your heart rhythm in the body, and then you're in a state of coherence, which is how you build resiliency. So there's a key component in utilizing positive emotions,
Mhm.
and like you had said, you can measure these heart rates. And if I come back, or if you're curious, I can share the slide, because the heart
Please
rhythm,
do.
when you're in the state of coherence, your heart rhythm is it's like, it's like music. It's super, super calm. And literally, you can have a heart rate monitor on someone and say, remember a time when you were angry, and their heart rate will become chaotic. Like
Mhm.
they're not in the situation, but if they
Mhm.
can relive it, that's where it goes. So it's really, really cool to know that you have that influence, that your emotions have that influence on your physical body.
The heart brain. So we talk a lot about the gut brain connection. There's a significant heart brain connection too. And, if I remember from just some of what I was reading to prepare, the heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart,
That's
which
right.
is fascinating.
Right. There's this whole heart brain center, and it's super cool when you hear some of the people at Heart Math talk about it. And, you know, some people like say, I mean, there is science in it, but sometimes people are like, wait, my energy can affect the field. But it really can.
Yeah,
They can measure, like you said, your heart rate. I mean, it's foundational level. It is energy. It's electric, so
it's
you can
electric.
measure it.
Mhm.
And the human body, there's research to show that that electric, heart beat can influence the field 3 to 5 feet outside of the human body. And so then we get
That's
into, well,
impressive.
Yeah, that if you and I are in the room together, or even just, in a state of coherence together, we can influence
Yep.
the field. That's when it gets, I think, super fascinating. So, um, let's see. Well, do you want to just lead, or I can lead another exercise real quick because I think we are coming up here to time. What do you think?
Do you want to can we touch on the domains of resilience
Yes.
before or the heart brain community? I mean, Janet, I want to talk about all of it. So I
I
know I'm going to have you back.
No, I would love to. I would love to come back. Yeah. So the domains of resilience. Here, let's go. Let's just touch on that because that's a good point. When we talk about resiliency, the body has multiple components. I feel like the physical aspect. We all know here in VSA, right? Because a lot of
Mhm.
us have goals, or how do we become stronger? And the idea here is that each one of these areas, some of us are stronger in one area than the other, but they all relate to each other. And so, really, heart math, the one that we work with the most is the emotional one. And so, for me, it's easier to understand. Well, if you're trying to expand your baseline and your capacity in a physical sense, you don't run 5 miles the first day you decide you're gonna be a runner, right? You probably start
Sure.
with a half mile. You walk a little bit, you get a little faster, right? And so you train. You set out a path and you follow it. And same idea here with heart math is that when you start to do these practices more frequently, you not only expand your capacity, but you build your baseline. And that's really what helps you feel better in the moment when those stressors come up, or help you rebound quicker. That's what it's about. So, and then that they each relate to one another, right? Because if we're stressed out, the spiritual dimension is, you might be real judgy. You might be like, oh, why did that person cut me off? But if your reserve is higher, you're like, go ahead, you know?
Because
So,
you have the reserve.
right. Exactly. Exactly. Let's see. We
But
have another comment here.
yes, the and think I appreciate everyone. Holly was saying that she was having a conversation with someone at a restaurant and she could feel herself getting angry. And her Garmin watch alarmed with a message that said abnormally high heart rate. Yeah,
Yeah. Amazing is correct in the comment that you put. Um, Absolutely. Especially today, technology is all around us, but it confirms, what you can feel. And when I started talking about the energetic field, you can kind of come into a room, and I mean, I assume most of us can sense, right? If there was a rough conversation that occurred there before, or two people,
you can
don't get
feel.
along,
Yeah,
you can sense that,
yeah.
right?
The energy's there. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So, when you start to look at this, self awareness is important, but so is, reading the field. And I think a lot of people have this, but they may not know, like, why do I feel weird when those people are in the room, And so it's just you start to open your mind to, like, oh, maybe there's something else going on here. And that's also where then if you are in it's in a calm or clear state, you have control over yourself, right?
Right.
You won't get sucked into whatever that is. Whereas I know if I don't sleep well and I haven't done my heart focused breathing, then I'm like, what's going on over there? You get all
Yep.
right.
And to Holly's point, and which ties back into the Holter monitor example, we have tools that you can see when you're in a little bit of an activated state. And that's a signal. I mean, I'm glad, Holly, that your Garmin told you that abnormally high heart rate. That's when you need to take a step back and you need to implement some of these tools and help bring yourself to a different state so that you're not running at an abnormally high heart rate for the next hour for whatever may have triggered that to happen.
Right, absolutely. Another study within heart math has shown the evidence that if you practice heart math daily for 6 months, you can reduce your blood pressure quicker than being on medication for 2 years. Because the effects, it's not only, are you prepared for stress and do you feel better?
Mhm.
There are, massive implications to your health if you hang out in a super stressful state over
Yes.
time. It really, not only is it not fun for you, but it can be really severe. That you could have a stroke, you could have a heart attack. Like, that's the down the line implications that we're trying to also combat by instilling these practices that are quite, kind of easy to do. But again, like anything else, they you get better at it the more you practice. So
And talking about practice, Janet, do you want to bring us home today by sharing another technique with the community that they can implement?
yes,
Or walk
I would love to. Thank you for hanging on, everybody who's with us. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I know it was brief, but so we will do another practice called quick coherence. And it'll sound familiar because it starts with the heart focused breathing, but it'll be just a few minutes longer, where then after we do the heart focused breathing, we make a sincere attempt to re experience a regenerative feeling. So
Hmm.
I'll guide you through it. If Do we have a few minutes, maybe 4 or 5?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, great. Okay, well, thanks for hanging in there with us, as we scratch the surface with heart math. But we'll just do another practice to add to your toolkit. So again, we'll just start with some heart focused breathing by imagining our breath flowing in and out of our heart, our chest area. Just allowing yourself to come home, breathing a little slower and a little deeper than usual. And now I'd ask you to just activate a regenerative feeling, such as care or compassion, gratitude or kindness. And just think about a time recently where you experienced one of those things. You were appreciative of a loved one. Maybe you had a warm embrace. Maybe you spent time with a beloved pet. Or maybe it's just recognizing the calmness that you feel right now. Let yourself breathe that experience in and out. And just closing with a sense of gratitude for this moment that you've taken for yourself today to try something new, to be in community, and to support your own well being. And with your next deep inhale and calming exhale, I welcome you back to the group.
Janet, thank you.
And
I this has been we've barely touched the surface, but really appreciate you walking us through these two exercises. And I'm hopeful that everyone listening was able to give it a try and know that you can implement these in your own life and apply some of these techniques that Janet shared to improve your resilience, fill your own cup, and um, always remember that you have more to give when your battery is fully charged. Jen, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I am definitely going to have you back for part 2 of this conversation.
well, thank you so much for the invitation. It was a pleasure to be here. My best to you and to everyone in the community. Thanks so much for listening.
And I appreciate all of you. You've been wonderful with the comments today. And yes, we're glad you didn't have to do any math with heart math, because that would probably raise your heart rate a little bit. But if you want to hear more on these, Erin saying, thanks for this. Always a good reminder to take time to recenter yourself. And Deborah is saying that she hopes for another longer session. So, uh, Janet, you have votes from the community that they definitely want to have you back.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Anytime. It'd be a pleasure.
I appreciate all of you for hanging in there with us. I know it was a little longer, and next time we have Janet on, maybe we'll plan on an hour. But please know that we love that you're spending this time with us. I hope that you're gaining some invaluable tools that you can use to navigate your own stress management. Use this time for social connection. All of the 3 M's are important: meals, movement, mindset, sleep, stress, and social connection. And know that we can't wait to connect again with you next week. Next week, we'll have Coach Mark here talking with us about nutrition on August 7th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Until then, please remember, find time for yourself, center, be strong, and superheroes, we will see you again next week. Take care.